All right. Check, check. Okay, we're going to have another awesome Amateur League tourney this week. Looks like currently we have 8 people signed up for the initiate bracket. That's a great turnout. We are still waiting on brackets to get finalized by the tournament organizer, Glacius, and then we'll get into some awesome StarCraft 2 games. Let's take a quick look at this bracket. Here's my casting overlay. Oh, whoops. There we go. So it looks like, oh, High Types is playing again. I haven't seen him play in one of these tournaments in ages. I'll have to see if I can cast that game between him and Ragnar. Bimba Punk is back. The most defensive Protoss I have ever seen in these tournaments. But will he be able to make it work against another Protoss? Milo88 is back going up against Tebs, and then Bendito Xeris versus Jackals in that last section of the bracket. So we should have some pretty exciting games today. Got my handy dandy notepad ready for when players are doing vetoes and picks. Make sure everything is coming through good on the stream. Everything looks good so far. Not even really any chatter going on in the start. Oh, looks like brackets are already final. That was fast. Okay, let's see if I can. Oh, a couple people didn't check in. Looks like we're down to 6. Milo didn't check in again. Oh, that's crushing. And oh, Bendito Xeris didn't check in either. That's a little disappointing. See, I'd like to cast High Types against DJ or DJ Ebo Cruiser, who I'm not seeing online. Otherwise, Tebs and Jackals would be the one I'd want to cast. We got Amateur and Amateur 2 because a lot of times the channels bug out in BattleNet. Did I get removed from the DLC? No, I didn't. I must have just been inactive. Oh, there's DJ, and where's High Types? Oh. All right, I'm just going to pull up my Be Right Back while I swap to the EU server. I don't know what he means by what are those achievements? Last Fantasy is our first veto. I was thinking High Types has a different name on EU because for whatever reason, you don't keep the same names between the regions. Pylon is our second veto. Magnatha, Torches, Tokamak, and Torches Talk. And Ultra Low, which leaves Ley Lines and Ley Lines, Incorporeal, and Persephone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Our first pick is going to be what map? Persephone. Okay. This map one was what? Persephone? Server plus plus. Get the mod. Oh, it was the last one, did I say? Incorp will be the ace. All right, so a little bit of confusion there, but here we go. Hey, Bropez, how's it going, brother? Hope you're having a good Sunday. Appreciate you lurking all my streams, bro. All right. In the top corner of Persephone LE, we have, with the blue Terran pieces, Ner, also known as High Types on the American server. And in the bottom corner, with the red Protoss probes representing Team Devoid, we have DJ Evo Cruiser. Now, I remember this guy being a pretty insane Protoss. Like, he was going up to like 240 APM, but I think a lot of it was spam from what I saw. So he really needs to make sure that he is being efficient with his actions. Meanwhile, it's been a long time since I've seen High Types play. I've actually practiced with him a couple of times when I was at the initiate level. He always struggled a little bit, from what I recall, with the Protoss matchups. So this is going to be an interesting game to see. The probe and the SCV run into each other, going for the normal scout timings. A little bit of probe harass. Oh no, it's going to get the SCV. Oh, that is not great for High Types. Very unfortunate. Now, if I'm him, I go and I eBay block him as retaliation. The probe is still alive. That barracks is delayed. Oh, I guess I should put up that this is a best of 3. Hey, thank you for the follow, Bombo Natords. That is an interesting name. Probably said it wrong. Oh, he didn't go for the eBay block. A little bit unfortunate. I think that would have been a good opportunity. All right, normal time Cybercore. We got a second base coming up for the Terran in their natural. We are adding on another barracks. So is this going to be some kind of a 2-1-1? Or a 3 racks? Who knows? Reaper is going across the map. It is going to get blocked. Hopefully he has the Adept rallied outside of the Reaper path here. Is very easy to get your unit stuck in there if you do not properly rally. Okay, it does go and get rallied properly so that the Adept does not get stuck. All right, High Types is going to see that there's an Adept and unfortunately loses the Reaper. All right, looks like we are going for a 3 wrap. Meanwhile, we've got naturals going up for both players. I'm expecting some aggression on the back of this build order for High Types. Oh, interesting. Building some low ground gateways. Now, as a Protoss playing into PvT, I do not like building low ground gateways here. If High Types decides to go for a tank push, this becomes very easy to lose these gateways. So that is just something to consider. All right, now we are going to get an Adept Scout on the other side of the map. We are going for Blink first. I prefer dealing with Charge if there's going to be some early aggression from the Terran. Oh, Adept does get into the back of the base. 3 shots to kill a worker. Got a bunch of Marines, and that Adept goes down without seeing the Marauders starting to pop out. And without really getting any information about what he's facing. Now we're going across the map with 6 Marines and a couple Marauders, but this actually might get a bit of damage done. We're rallying more Marauders and Marines across the map. And without a shield battery, this could actually be hard to hold. I like the aggression from the Terran here. There's no blink, no storm, no charge. Okay. And we do have concussive shells, so these stalkers are not going to be able to run away. 1 stalker goes down, 2 stalkers go down, a couple of Marines traded. But I think that he can keep going. Yeah, they're slow. They can't get away. Blink isn't done yet. 3 stalkers go down. Probes get pulled. Another warp in. Focus fire on those stalkers. All right, 2 probes go down. Which is honestly pretty big. 4 probes. 5 probes. Okay, focus the stalkers. They're out of the probes. So that's 6 stalkers. That's all the stalkers going down. And we're going to lose 11 probes on top of it. 12 probes. And units are still coming across the map. Maybe a little bit early on those stims, because we do have warp-ins available. You need to group your units up first. And maybe get some medevacs too. All right, we're adding on more production on the other side of the map. Another barracks and a factory. 1 stalker goes down for a Marine. Marauder goes down. Oh, we're going for more economic damage, looks like. Probe goes down. But Marauders are actually not that great at killing probes. I almost would have rather he went for some damage on the warp gates or focused the stalkers. Another stalker goes down. So there are a lot of losses here for our Protoss player in red. He lost a ton of probes for this, but now he is looking to go on the offensive with Blink and the Warp Prism, but I think he has to be pretty careful here. As our Terran player continues to pump out more army supply. We are down a significant number. Actually, we're not down on workers. Despite everything, I thought that the Protoss would be down, but they are not. I guess with Chrono Boost, they were able to add back on. But we really need that starport to get finished. Yeah, we're not fully saturated in the main. All right, one Stalker gets picked off for 2 SCVs. All right, these Marines are all getting very low. We need medevacs to deal with this. And the Protoss has weathered the early pressure surprisingly well. All right, Protoss is going for a 3rd base. We definitely don't want to let this get up. Got a tank out now for the Terran. Oh, we never started up the Stargate again after. CC going down for the Terran on the high ground. Looks like charge has finished. We are starting to build Colossi extended thermal lances on the production tab. We should be able to kill this 3rd base expansion. So I think my sound is a little bit low. Let me turn my sound up a little bit. Oh, I've got no music either. All right, again, we have the Warp Prism going across the map, probably looking to get a Zealot run by into the main. Just starting to get medevacs out. A couple of Vikings would also go a long way to chasing down these Warp Prism drops. Got 5 Zealots warping into the main, and they are going to go to town on these SCVs. 3 SCVs go down, 4 SCVs go down, 5. But they are funneled into a choke where they can't hit that many units. Okay, so 5 SCVs is going to be all the damage. Or maybe not. We've got a secondary warp in on the low ground. And this is not a planetary, it's a 3rd orbital command. High types may be feeling a little bit of the economic pressure. 8 SCVs in total going down, and we've got a bunch that are not mining, sitting in the corner of the base. Oh no, get those workers mining. All right, I think High Types is feeling pressured. He feels like he has to go and do something all in, who knows. This Protoss army is getting very scary. Put on a lot of pressure early, but since that kind of initial attack, he hasn't really been able to get anything done. Oh, this is a good spot. Get those tanks sieged up. All right, kite back towards the tanks. Oh, but the Colossus is getting so much value. The Marine count is very high, getting absolutely barbecued. Couple of tanks go down. Warp in. Can we get the Warp Prism, though? We cannot. And Marauders are not very good against Zealots. But honestly, a very even fight for our Terran and Protoss players here. More reinforcements warped in, but there is a massive group of reinforcements from the Terran. If you can snipe that Warp Prism. All right, kite back. Let's see some stim and kite. We don't even need to kite, and GG is called. Game 1 goes to our blue Terran player. All right, game 2, I think, was Leyline. Looks like our Protoss player is a bit stressed. And you know, it can be rough if you go on like a big ladder losing streak right before a tournament. That's honestly why I tend not to play a whole bunch of ladder on tournament days, at least before the tournament. Is it can really affect my mental. I'll usually do like some AI games to get warmed up, you know, make sure my build orders good to go. But I don't like grinding ladder. It usually puts me in a pretty bad like headspace if I get on a lose streak, and it doesn't it go well when I get into the actual tournament games. So I can put that back up. So game 1 went to our Terran player, high types. All right. Getting into game 2. DJ Evo Cruiser versus high types. All right, in the top corner with the blue Terran pieces, we have high types. And the bottom corner, representing Team Devoid, we have DJ Evo Cruiser. Now let's see if we can get him on the board. He didn't play that badly last game, honestly. He took a fair bit of early damage, but he recovered from it. I think when high types went for his push with his 4 racks and couple factories, that our Protoss player here just did not have enough army and enough gateways. He did go for an expand. He was definitely up on economy, but there was only, I think, 1 Colossus at the time the attack hit. There was no storm. So definitely a couple of things that could be improved on. The early harass. I know high types hates this. Oh, we got a pylon. Are we like faking a cannon rush? You got to go for the probe. If you think this is an actual cannon rush, you got to go for the probes. Ah, snipes it. He stops the production on the barracks to snipe the probe. You know, if this were an actual cannon rush, I wouldn't even blame him. Now he'll get back home and he'll find, oh, there's like nothing here. There's no forge. Worried about nothing. All right, we're going Marine first instead of Reaper. Interesting adaptation. Not really sure why. Another pylon going down just to make sure it's properly walled off, because I don't know that that was a full wall. I'm not gonna lie, most of the time I don't even bother with the walling off the Reaper. Ooh, get a little stutter step, and the probe gets out. That's unfortunate. All right, we are going 2-1-1, looks like. 2 racks into factory. I assume it's going to be a 2-1-1. Adding on a Twilight Council. So I assume we're going to be playing Blink Stalkers again. And I'm not very good at playing Blink Stalkers into Terran. The Terran needs to be significantly worse than I am for me to actually get value out of going Blink first. So I usually wind up playing Charge with like sentries for force fields and stuff to hold early aggression. I know Blink is like technically the best and the meta way to play, but I don't have that kind of APM. Ooh, is this off center? Might be a little off center, which at least with the Terran structure, you don't you can lift it up and land it again. But that would bug me. Yeah, it definitely is off center. All right, yeah, 2-1-1 coming out of high types. We are starting to warp in Stalkers. Like we got 3 gates. Economy right now, not honestly in the favor of Terran. 22 to 30 workers. But mules are OP. Blink is over halfway done now. Wait. What the fuck? Did I miss something? Why did we stop? Why did we stop working on the command center? I'm so confused. Yeah. All right, he's going to land it. Properly place it. Stalkers coming across the map. Do we have a tank? We don't have a tank. But we should have enough army, even with Blink, that these Stalkers shouldn't be able to get anything done. I would like to see a tank come out. There it is. It's on the production tab. But 4 Stalkers. We should actually put some of these in our bunker. Yep. And our Protoss is just going to happily keep harassing while, adding on to his production and his economy. A little bit oversaturated in the main. We need to start getting the geysers. Maybe looking at a 3rd expansion. It is 5 minutes. But yeah, a couple of missile turrets. You know the enemy's going Blink. You know there's a potential for a warp prism harass. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a couple of missile turrets up in the side of the base. I'm actually surprised. There's the warp prism. Charge on the production tab. What are we going for here? Another barracks. Okay, looks like we're going for a tank push, but this is not great timing as the warp prism is going across the map, just as I predicted. fallen down on the job. Didn't update the score or the best 3. All right, we're getting a couple of stalkers in the main, warped in. We're going to take out a couple of SCVs. But the fact that there are no units already responding to this could be a red flag to our Protoss player that the main Terran army is somewhere else. All right, we need to get this tank sieged up. No, the tank is so vulnerable. Okay, a couple of stalkers go down. 3 stalkers, 4. Oh, both zealots die. Ooh, and our Protoss player GG's out, or leaves without a GG, actually. Leave the party, and we're going to swap back to North America. All right, let's see. We're going to get High Types versus Bimba Punk next. And then there is whoever wins between Hebs and Jackals will play Ragnar. These two might actually be on the EU server. But I might not find them here. All right, let's see where they're at. I feel like Bimba is EU. Looks like we're going back to EU. The Masters border glitch. I still can't believe that they haven't fixed that, honestly. Veto number 1 is Pylon, then Torches. I hate Torches. Ultra Love. Last Fantasy. Got 2 more vetoes. In Porp. And Leyline. Which leaves Alchemac, Persephone, and what's the other one? Maganatha. Persephone. Our first map. Alpha. And then the ace will be Hawkman. Okay. Nope, I should change the score there. Oh. Declined? Misclick, maybe? Yeah, just a misclick. All right. Match 2. Bimbapuck versus High Types. Another PvP. Or Bimbapunk. I think on NA it was Bimbapuck, if I'm not mistaken. All right. In the top corner with the purple Protoss probes, we have Bimbapunk. And in the bottom corner with the red Terran SCVs, we have High Types. I'm going more off of what they have registered for this tournament under, which is usually NA names, because the regional names are usually different. Ooh, low ground pylon in a TVP? Oh, he's going for his full wall off strat, but this just lets you put tanks here and hammer all of the production. You know, this strategy worked very well for him against Zerg, where he just does like a full wall off with like cannons and stuff. But that strategy doesn't really work against Terran, brother. I'd be very curious to know what your Terran win rate is, if this is the strategy you run every game. Because Terran can just, you know, Reapers can get into the base this way, or they just sit outside your base with tanks, and there's nothing you can do if you wall everything off. eBay block him. eBay block him. Come on, High Types. We could actually go for a proxy barracks too in the corner here. That would be hilarious. And we get the block. Usually it's the Protoss that block the expansion going down. But yeah, like, yeah, the Reaper's going across. There's no actual unit to deal with the Reaper. And that cannon is not going to be in range to protect a bunch of stuff. Unlike with Zerg. All right, all of the probes get pulled. Don't let the Reaper get trapped. Don't let it get surrounded. Oh, it's a disaster. There were no actual units to stop the Reaper other than probes. Honestly, he could just, like, High Types, that is, at this point, could just go mass Reaper and win the game. Like, you build, like, 5 Reapers with your reactor and your 2 barracks, or 4 Reapers, and you should just be able to win the game off of this state. All right, 21 to 23 workers. Yeah, or we just go for a tank push and we also win the game, because what are they going to do? Okay, a cannon does go down. Got a cannon in the main along with a Stargate, but a couple of Cyclones will be able to deal with a Void Ray. Especially since the Cyclone bug, as far as I'm aware, is still a thing. I feel like with this kind of a setup, High Types is not being aggressive enough because you can hit these buildings without being in range of the cannons for sure. All right, we've got 2-1-1. Once the tank comes up, we just go. Void Ray is coming out. What's a Void Ray going to do against 10 Marines? Man with gun is pretty good. Yeah, just go. Just go across the map and you win. You go right now, you win. And just keep pumping out Marines. Maybe get a Cyclone. A Cyclone would be very good against the Void Ray. I think that... oh no, High Types doesn't see the Stargate. I thought he got a scan of the Stargate, but either way, one Void Ray is not going to be enough to stop this. You just got to siege up. He's got nothing. 8 army supplied to 25. And just keep rallying Marines and stuff across the map. And there's the tank. Are we going to focus the cannon? Yeah, we are. I mean, most of these guys are close enough that they can, or will have enough range that they don't need that cannon down to hit. All right, we got 2 Void Rays now. That gets a little bit dicier, especially with taking some damage. All right, focus the Void Rays. Focus the Void Rays. Okay, there we go. 1 Void Ray goes down. And that pylon doesn't really matter. Oh, except it supply blocks him. Yeah, you can never turtle like this against the Terran. Not with siege tanks and liberators and stuff like that being a thing. All right, we do have stim now. We've got a medevac. 15 probes going down. And like I said, this strategy works very well against Zerg. It doesn't really work against Terran. And yeah, we got a Cyclone now. The bugged Cyclones. Still so good for this. Yeah, we have 4 Void Rays, but like 4 Void Rays against this many men with guns? I don't know about that one, dog. He's gonna go for the tank probably, but like most of the energy now is gone from those batteries. 1 Stargate gets sniped. Pylon gets sniped. There's no more production for the side of Bimbapunk. If we focus fire a little bit better, we probably have killed, you know, 2 Void Rays, but as this is, folks, the Stargate, folks, they're not getting out. They're not getting out. All right, there is no real production here. He has to rebuild the gateway in order to build more Stargates. Rebuild the gateway and the Cyrocore. We don't have a forge anymore either. This game, we don't even need a 3rd base, brother. You should just be able to finish this with the production you have if you just pump out Marines. All right, what's the building going to be from Bimbapunk? It's going to be a whole bunch of pylons. But are we going to start a carrier? You don't really have time for a carrier to produce. Like, he was literally down to 2 Void Rays and not able to produce anything. I think if you just rally Marines across the map at that point, you win. I am happy to see that the army of the Terran is going across the map. Now, surrender is apparently not in Bimbapunk's vocabulary, but this should be an overwhelming force. Cyclone's going to. Got a Void Ray, but these units are ahead of the main army. All right, both Void Rays go down instantly, and that's the game. Okay, map 2 was Maganatha. Observer plus mod. Yeah, doing that full wall off against a Terran just really doesn't work, if I'm being honest. It just doesn't. And Void Rays are not good against man with gun. All right, getting into map 2 on Maganatha LE. All right, in the bottom corner with the purple Protoss probes, we have Bimbapunk. And in the top corner, having a good tournament showing this week with the red Terran SCVs, we have I-Types. All right. Now, I've only ever seen Bimbapunk play one build. I've only ever seen him play that one build where he full walls off and goes into Sky Toss. Kept bringing up my notepad by accident. So that build really doesn't work against Terran because of their ranged units. It works great against Zerg because you can protect your forward structures with cannons, but also like Reapers can jump into your base from the side. And I think that honestly, if I-Types had gone like 4 Reapers or something at the start, that game would have been done in 3 minutes. As there was no Adept, there was no Stalker, there was no nothing out of the side of our purple Protoss. Honestly, if he hadn't lost that Reaper to the probes, it probably would have killed like 5-10 probes, who knows. All right, Reaper on the production tab for I-Types. All right, core goes down. This is not a full wall off. We did not go for an early forge. This is maybe something different. Maybe not a full wall. But even then, having the core down on that low ground, it's so easy. So easy to snipe it with tanks. All right, Reaper goes across. We have a reactor getting added on. Fast expand for our Terran player as well. Warp gate and a Stalker on the production tab for our Protoss. Reaper is in the base, shooting at probes. 1 probe goes down. Oh, come on. Oh, target fire. There we go. 2 probes. And if we don't lose the Reaper this time, we might be able to get more damage. But that Stalker is about to pop out. And there is a battery on the low ground. Oh, a little bit of miscontrol there by I-Types. I think he was macroing at home. But yeah, this low ground is not good against Terran. Okay, we're going into a robo facility. This is probably the first time I think I've actually seen Bimbapunk build a robo. We are on 22 to 19 workers in favor of the Terran. Two orbital commands mean those mules are also going to be massive. All right, now I think we could just go for a marine tank push, honestly. Like, Marine tank pushes are so fucking strong against Protoss in the early game. If you don't scout it, you don't see it coming, and you don't know what's happening, it feels at times like it is just an insta loss if you are the Protoss player. All right, so we're going 1 Stalker, 1 Sentry, 1 Immortal. This is like Probe SC2's build. I remember from years ago, his like kind of a beginner Protoss build. And it is a pretty safe opener. But it's not all that safe when you get smashed in the face by a whole bunch of tanks and Marines. All right. So adding on more barracks, tech lab on the factory finishes, but we are supply blocked for the side of our Terran player. All right, we're adding on Forge, Twilight Council, bunch of gateways. But Bimbapunk is not, you know, his economy is not nearly as good as the Terrans. And you can say, oh, he's only 3 workers behind, but that doesn't account for the mule difference. We're going for some drops, and these drops are going to hit hard. There is not a whole lot from the side of Bimbapunk to hold these drops. You know, 2 medevacs full of Marines with stim, that is a scary attack force. And Immortals, they do a lot of damage in general, but they are not specifically good against Marines. Ooh, good drop from the Terran. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 SCVs go down. Pylon gets sniped. We're trying to snipe the Templar archives. 1 stock. Oh, wait, no, there only was 1 stock. Maybe it was the Sentry that went down. Oh, we don't quite get... Yes, we do get the Immortal. Now, most of those Marines did die, unfortunately, but we got a massive number of probes. All right, these Marines are just being fed to the Immortals, but you can see how long those Immortals, despite the damage they do, took to actually kill off the Marines. Now, let's get those medevacs out of there. 4 Stalkers warped in. We do have charge and +1 on the production tab for the Protoss, but we just took game-ending damage. We are down to 14 workers, and we've got 3 just sitting in the base, not doing anything. You follow this up with a Marine Marauder tank push, and this should be game over. Now, I would like to see some more SCV production out of high types. He is supply blocked right now, so we need to be getting Gary and Bruce to do their jobs, building depots at this point. Get into that Terran macro cycle. There we go. But this push should likely just be able to win the game from Terran. All right, scan goes down in the base of Protoss. All right, we're going to snipe the first gateway. Got a warp in of Zealots or Templar. Templar, actually. But I don't think we have Storm researched, unless I missed that on the... No, we're going to try to make some Archons in a hurry. Yeah, fall back to the tanks. Don't push in without your tank pressure. 1 Immortal goes down. The Archon never finishes. 2 Immortals go down. The Stalkers are down. But the entire Protoss army lies defeated. And this is why you don't build on the low ground against Terran as Protoss, guys. It's too easy to lose that Cyber Core, and then you're sunk. Okay, let's take a look at the bracket. We got Ragnar and Jackal's Looks like Jackals beat Tebs 2-1. And the loser of this match, so Bimbapunk, will go to play Tebs in the lower bracket. I might just be swapping back to EU, depending on who wins the Ragnar and the Jackals game, because I think Jackals is EU as well. This is a very EU-dominated bracket today, but that's okay. So we're gonna swap back to NA for now, so I can just keep an eye on things, because that's where the Amateur League chats are. And then I'll probably take this time to run an ad soon as well. Keep pre-rolls off. Solran, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. I've got a couple of new followers today, so always appreciate new followers, lurkers, anything like that on this channel. Maybe I'll get in. I'll cast the best of one between Tebs and... Hey, thank you for that on-screen celebration. All right, we're going to cast the best of one between Tebs and Bimbapunk. Sorry. Going to run an ad right now before we get into things. All right, looks like we are vetoing a whole bunch of maps. Persephone is our first veto. Torches is our next one. Ley lines. Not sad to see ley lines gone. I wish that they wouldn't put old maps in. Last Fantasy. Not surprising. 3-player map. A lot of people don't like it. Ultra Love. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need 3 more vetoes, I think. It'll just be whatever map is left. Maganatha. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 more. Okay. Are we just going to pylon after all of that? Okay, so this is going to be a dicey connection for both of these guys, but got Australia to EU. All right. Let's get into this best of 1 lower bracket between Bimbapunk and Tebs. All right. In the top quarter with the purple Protoss probes, we have Bimbapunk. And in the bottom corner with the red SCVs, we have Tebs. So my anticipation for this win is Tebs, simply because the strategies that Bimbapunk tends to like to play don't tend to do very well against Terran. So it looks like on the other side of the bracket, Ragnar beat Jackals 2-0. So is now playing against high types in the semifinals. So I maybe left just a little too soon. That's a bit unfortunate. But we'll hopefully get in for games 2 or 3 once this game is done of that series. All right, so far, Bimbapunk is going for his typical full wall cannon defense. Tebs is going to scout it. He's going to see what's going on here. He's going to see the forge, see the gateway. Go for the eBay block, Tebs. I want one of the Terrans here to eBay block. All right, there's the full wall. If Tebs just does a marine tank push at this point, he wins the game. If Tebs goes like 3 or 4 Reapers into the back of the base, he wins the game. Yeah, 2 cannons. That is going to be such a... Oh, he steals 5 minerals, but he cannot get out. We've barred the doors. Drums in the deep. We cannot get out. All right, Nexus goes down. DC is already being built on location for Tebs. If Tebs just does a standard Marine tank push or something similar, he wins the game. All right, we are going for some Marauders while our factory builds. Yeah, honestly, the huge problem with the static defense against Terran is that tanks just outrange absolutely everything. We started combat shields. That might have been a misclick. Even Cyclones will be able to hit these for free, pretty much. So we've got a 2-1 opener right now. I assume we're going to go into a starport. I know Tebs does like his Marine drops. Casted Tebs many times. Yeah, there's the tank. Like, literally, you could roll up right now with a couple Marines and a tank, and Protoss could do nothing to you till that Void Ray pops. Is that going to be a reactor? It is. Honestly, the only danger in this game to Tebs is if he lets Bimba get to his, like, multiple Stargates, carriers, and a critical mass of them. As long as he pushes at some point in the early game, he should be able to win. I think both of these players are somewhere around the same MMR. I want to say Tebs is like 2,600, but that might be low on my estimate. All right, we are pumping out Void Rays. The gold player special. And I don't say that disparagingly. It's just, I know for a fact that gold Protosses love their Void Rays. Problem with Void Rays is they are not very good against the man with gun. All right. Tebs has not really gotten any scouting information on what his opponent is going for. The fleet beacon goes down in the back of the base. All right, third CC for Tebs. So we are adding on another pylon at the front and building a couple more voids. Oh, come on, mate. You gotta go. Like, you would have won this game if you walked across while he still only had one void with just a handful of Marines and the 2 tanks. All right, +1. We've got some medevacs coming up. Honestly, some Vikings would be good, but medevacs are also very strong. It's 32 to 22 army supply, but we need to go before we start pumping out a critical mass of carriers. We are destroying our own gateway that we have full walled off in order to get an expansion. Come on, Tebs. Come on, brother. There's 2 carriers in production. Those take forever. Medevacs are loaded up. We are splitting the medevacs. Those medevacs are going to get cleaned up pretty quickly if they are not together with the Marines, but we should be able to deny the third. All right, small supply block for Bimba Puck. Adding on a bunch more pylons because carriers, surprisingly to no one, cost a ton of supply. All right, Tebs should see this, and he could drop it right now. Actually, more important to drop that than it is to drop the natural. But while one drop gets cleaned up by the Sky Toss, 10 probes go down in the main. All right. Tebs shooting interceptors. Oh, maybe gets a Void Ray? Not quite. So now Tebs, for the first time, sees the massive Sky Toss army. That was a ton of worker damage. All right, we're going to start building missile turrets. This isn't really an army that's going to do a run-by on you. 4 carriers already. Okay, you gotta go and get this third base. Go and pump out a bunch of Vikings. Cyclones would be good too, but you gotta kill that third base, Tebs. All right, we're about to be at 6 carriers. Now, these guys are fucking expensive. You gotta go fast. You don't need the tanks. You can just stim in and kill everything there. Your tanks are not actually going to do you very much good in this situation, Tebs, because he's all Sky Toss. Just forgetting that static defense. All right, this is good. This is good. All the cannons are down. The Nexus is going to get sniped. We're getting a good Viking count. Honestly, you add on a couple Ravens here. 4 probes get killed in the meantime. You add on a couple of Ravens, you interference matrix the carriers. Oh my god, this is so many carriers at this point. It may actually be better to target the interceptors. Forge gets sniped, 1 Void Ray goes down. Holy, the carriers are doing so much damage. 1 Void Ray goes down, 2 Void Rays, 3 Void Rays. But all of the Marines of Tebs are going down. The Marauders not able to shoot up. This is so many carriers. We have just waited too long to do anything. Got a hidden base over on the left side by Bimba Puck. And now the carriers are on the move, and it's probably too late for Tebs. He had so long. Just a 1 base Marine tank push would have ended this game already. But now we have, what is this? A dozen carriers? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 carriers? No, this is unfortunately game over. There is no way for Tebs to deal with the sheer mass of carriers on the other side. There's no ghosts, there's no nukes, and there's not nearly enough army. Bimbapunk going in for the kill. 1 carrier does get sniped, and some interceptors fall, but 27 SCVs go down. A Thor taking some shots, but this is so many carriers with more just getting added on. This is all over but the crying. Yeah, and we're not really focus firing carriers either. We are shooting interceptors that are just getting rebuilt because they don't die fast enough. This will be a disappointing end to Tebs' tournament run today. I admire the gumption and he's sticking in this, but this is GG. Oh, it lives with one health. Sorry, 6 health, 1 shield. I liked it better. It was more dramatic when it was only 1 health. Yeah, the units are just dying too fast for Tebs. They can't get a critical mass. 4 more carriers coming across the map. And the GG well played comes out from Tebs. And the sad part is if Tebs had just been a little aggressive early on, Bimbapunk would have folded. And that is the story of a lot of his games, is that they just let him get up to critical massive carriers, and that is it. Okay, let's check the bracket. Okay, it looks like Ragnar and High Types is still going on. Oh, whoops, that's not. There must have been no match history on Ragnar's last couple of games. Custom 4 minutes. So hopefully I will be able to get into that series for casting. But we'll see who wins. All right, we're going to do a be right back and run an ad while we wait for another series to cast. We're going to get into game 2 of Ragnar versus High Types. Okay, make sure I got all my audio and everything turned on. Yep, looks like we are good to go. All right, this is game 2 of Ragnar versus High Types. And it looks like High Types took game 1. They must have been a little bit late starting this game. I sat through like a 20-minute, maybe not 20 minutes, 10 to 15-minute game with Tebs and Bimba Punk. All right. In the bottom corner, playing with the pink Zerg drones, we have Ragnar. And in the top corner, with the red SCVs, we have High Types. But that is not the right placement for that depot, brother. All right, SCV, or sorry, Overlord is going across the map to scout, but that is not going to be a full wall. Zerglings are going to be able to sneak in through there. Though you'll probably get a wall off on that side with the tech lab or reactor. You're going to need to add a bunker or something on this side in order to get a proper wall off. All right, both players will likely be playing with some ping, as High Types is playing from somewhere in, I want to say, Northern Europe, if I am remembering correctly. And Ragnar is in Australia. So they're playing on the US servers, as that gives some level of parity between the two. All right, everything so far is very standard, other than this wall off, and exactly what I would expect. Yeah, that does not feel like it is an actual full wall. Which, you know, if Ragnar goes for some kind of a Ling flood, I don't think he will, but he could. That could be very bad. All right, CC starts on location. Got our orbital just finishing. We'll be able to call down a mule immediately. Yep, there's the second depot. Oh, I don't think that's a full wall off either, but I might be wrong. Sometimes it can be a little bit misleading. The Overlord should see, and vice versa, the scout going across. All right, we got an Overlord is going to sit on the pillar over there. Second Overlord probably going to sit over there or watch for an expansion. They're not a jump. Oh, the jump pad is in that natural on Incorporeal. All right, we're going to start microing against the Lings. Might snipe one Ling. One Ling gets sniped. Second Ling gets sniped. Queen pops in the natural, but there is no jump pad down, and the Reaper dies. No. High types has not been overly effective on these Reapers. One of the few criticisms I've had about his play in these games. You may want to get up a bunker there, buddy. Now, you haven't played against Ragnar very much, but he loves being aggressive. Okay, so far everything is pretty much as stock standard as standard could be. I assume that Ragnar is going for some kind of a Ravager Roach all-in with the Roach Warren, but it could just be a safety Warren in case of Hellions. Yeah. Shouldn't be young like this. All right, so we have a 2-1-1 opener for the side of high types, which has seemed pretty standard for how he's played in these games. The overlords are being spread out. We've got a scouting ling. It is going to run. Oh no, the Marines. Okay, I thought the Marines were going to move. And it was going to give the ling a chance to get in and scout the main. All right, we've got a bunch of lings. We've got a bunch of roaches on the production tab. I think that Ragnar is looking to do some kind of a 2-base all-in. And this could be very effective. All right, we need to get like a tank. I was gonna say maybe high types would build a Banshee for safety. A Banshee would absolutely save him against these roaches. We are going and building our wall off, but we don't have a tank, and that's actually going to be huge. We do have Stim about to finish. We've got a couple medevacs on the production tab, but 24 to 38 army supply with no tank, no Banshee. It's dicey. It's very, very dicey. No bunkers even. We're behind. Actually, no, we're not behind on workers. We're ahead, and we get mules. So now these Marine. Oh no, you can't go for a drop right now. You cannot go for a drop right now. Now the Overlord probably sees the drop heading out. Ragnar, you just go all in on this and you kill the natural, right? Like, you can morph in troops at home, but you could have killed all of his production. Now high types is going to get a scout on exactly what he's facing, but he actually might have bought himself enough time to get a tank and a liberator out that's going to help him hold this. A Banshee would have been better, but he doesn't have a tech lab on the starport. Very easy for liberators when they're siege to get bile down. Same thing with tanks, honestly. All right, we stim, but there's nowhere for the Marines to go. It's a lot of damage, not getting anything. And Ragnar decides, you know, maybe I can't actually do this, and I got to go back home. And we're going to morph some more Ravagers. Now, high types scans a couple of places. Doesn't see the army on either scan. So the army's somewhere in the middle of the map. We need more tanks, brother. All right, we're going to send the Liberator across. I think that's fine. But he definitely needs more tanks. Getting stuck on 2 bases would not be good for him. But Ragnar is also only on 2 bases. All right, here comes the attack from Ragnar. Ooh, bunch of all the lings go down. We're gonna chase. The roaches don't have speed, but we might be a little bit overstimmed here. Okay, the fact that these roaches do not have speed is very detrimental. A couple of supply depots burned to death, leaving high type supply blocked. The medevacs are going to heal up his army. But this was maybe a bit of a miscalculation from Ragnar, not having roach speed, not having banelings. Stimmed Marines, man with gun is pretty good. But there are no tanks here with this army, but there might just be enough Marines. Microing out of the biles, good micro. Now we get a tank set up. Set up, siege the tank, siege the tank. Ooh, that's a very aggressive siege spot, and it immediately gets biled down. But all the forces of Ragnar go down. Lings are on the production tab, but I don't think that we have enough. 21 drones go down. The natural goes down. High Types is on his way, looking unstoppable to an Amateur League win. And High Types will now advance on to the final, I believe, with that win. All right, so we got Ragnar versus DJ Evo Cruiser for the lower bracket final. Okay, we got vetoes, torches. I can't type. Torches, Last Fantasy, Hawkmac, Maganatha. Persephone. Ultra Love. Leyline. One more veto. Believe it is between Pylon and what's the other one? Pylon and Incorporeal. Which brings us to Pylon. Just waiting on the go from our Protoss. I am totally dead. All right. This will be a best of one to decide who goes on to the finals against High Types, who has been absolutely killing it this tournament. All right, in the bottom corner, representing Team Devoid, we have DJ Evo Cruiser. And in the top corner with the pink Zerg drones, we have Ragnar. Clan or Team Infected, it looks like. Okay. So, DJ Evo Cruiser messages me just before the game starts saying, I am so dead.
Game paused.
I am late. I don't know if I can actually talk. I mean, I'm of the opinion that if you're late, bud. Looks like we're doing a quick remake. Like, honestly, shit like that pisses me off. Like, if you say you're ready, fucking be ready. And I don't care if you're a minute late or whatever, like. You're holding up the rest of the tournament. You're holding up your opponent. It's unprofessional. Be better. Oh, whoops, I didn't upload or update my follower goal on this overlay. Oh, whoops, should be 120. We're at 119 of my 120 goal. All right, honestly, if I'm Ragnar, I'm fucking 12 pooling him here. I'm not doing intros this time. We just did them. But I would so fucking 12 pool. Ooh, that pylon's very far up. We're going for a block, it looks like. No reason to move a probe across the map that fast unless you are, like, cannon rushing or going for the block. But Ragnar gets the hatch down early. That's not going to happen. Gateway goes down. All right, we're going to get our pool next. Looks like we were just doing an extractor trick and not actually a gas at the time. All right, pool goes down. Pool goes down. Pool is very delayed. I mean, you should just, if the probe being in the back and messing with your mineral line is that annoying to you, you should just click one drone on it, and that will have the least impact on your mining time. Feels like very far out. He might have trouble getting a proper wall off here. This feels like it's more than 1 unit's worth. All right, pool is almost done. Pool is done. Gas is done. Queens are on the production tab. All right, we chrono and adapt, but we're supply blocked. All right, the adapt starts. Okay, so this is going to be a full wall, but I feel like this space right here is like 2 units rather than 1. So if the adept is there, it's not going to be enough. Yeah, you're going to need to put another structure there, something, in order to prevent that. All right, so the adept is coming out. Nexus just finishes. Our Protoss player actually has the edge in worker count. Okay, we get a little bit of a scout. Actually, is that actually walled off? It kind of doesn't look like it, but it's probably just a weird angle. Yeah, it is walled off. Okay. Ling speed starts up for Ragnar. We are going to take a 3rd base. Do think we want to be making a little bit more army than we are, Ragnar. Just because you know the adepts have gone across the map. Warp gate is finishing. Oh no, the adepts adepts that don't do well against buildings are attached in the hatchery. Now, this is actually kind of a trap for the Zerglings. The fact that they can only hit an adept one at a time. Like, you need an overwhelming number. They are going to make you pay if you try to fight them in that spot. Yeah, that adept actually gets hit by 3 at a time. That's kind of big. All right, 1 goes down. Now you can get a surround. I don't know if it was really worth losing all these Zerglings to kill 2 adepts, but it is what it is. We have an Oracle coming out. We are going for a Glaive Adept Oracle push from the looks of it. 2 base all in. Ragnar has no idea that this is coming. But we actually have 2 Oracles out, I think, right? 1 or just 2? Or sorry, 2 or just 1? No, just 1, sorry. I thought we had 2 Oracles. Okay, so now we see the Oracles. Get our spores in our bases. Get some spores down. You saw the Oracle. Come on. Spores instantly, please. Please, Ragnar. Okay, that Oracle actually takes a lot of damage and gets 1 drone in a stasis. So, not really awesome Oracle play there, but it is what it is. Yeah, that so looks like it is not a full wall. It's not. It's not. Oh, it's not that. That means if a probe can get through it, Zerglings can probably get through it. Oh, no. That is not good. Charge is on the production tab. Supply block prevents the Immortal from starting. We now have a pylon built. I think Ragnar is just happily building army and macroing. Like, Ragnar should actually be able to take out this 3rd, even with the couple of adepts. We have glaives, but we don't have a good number of adepts. All right, we are building extra queens. I like that. Ragnar often plays like very queen starved, like just 1 queen at each base. Especially with the oracles on the map, I like the extra queens. But we need to start like getting some aggression on the map, Ragnar, because we don't want this Protoss to get up to 3 bases. And with the amount of money you have, I'd take a 4th and build a macro hatch. Spend that like 500 minerals. Get both of those things up. Yeah, look at these probes just walking right through that area, and that should mean that Zerglings, yeah, if Stalkers can fit through it, Zerglings can fit through it. If Ragnar holds the upcoming attack from our Protoss here, it is going to be very bad for the Protoss. The Oracle is scouting around. We still don't have spores in any of our mineral lines. Ravagers coming up. That's good. I like that. Okay, but this is a very scary Protoss army. Oh, we're supply blocked. Okay, we do not want to get hit with most of our army by that stasis ward. He should be able to see it. Can either trigger it or kill it with okay, he should see the warp prism going in too. What's the warp in going to be? Is it going to be... Oh, he's supply blocked! There's no warp in because we're supply blocked! That is so unfortunate. We're still supply blocked. Man, if only we had a spore crawler when we saw the oracles, that would have prevented 11 drones from going down, Ragnar. My guy. 16 drones go down. Oh, only 1 oracle gets recalled, and it actually almost dies. 2nd oracle gets sniped. Templar archives going up for the Protoss, but that was massive economic damage. And Ragnar still hasn't moved across the map, still hasn't done anything. I think that you can feint at this base and get a Zergling run by into the main or the natural, honestly. Like, you could take your Roach Ravager army, hit from this side, draw them away, and then run like 2 groups of Zerglings into the mineral line. All right, Protoss and Zerg passing each other like ships in the night, going across the map. Protoss is coming back to respond to this. You could run the Zerglings into the natural right now. You could split your army. All right, Zerglings are all attacking the stuff in the base, the production. Roach Ravager is holding off the rest of the force. Zerglings are going to pick up an Immortal, but ooh, these Immortals here are putting in work, but I just don't think that the Protoss has enough. Well played, he says, and that is going to be it. Ragnar advances on to a rematch against High Types in the final. All right, let's find High Types. I don't know what that means, but anyway. Is High Types not online anymore? All right, let's run an ad 2 while we're not actually in game. Just trying to push these ads off as much as possible. So this is what our bracket has been looking like so far. We had High Types, who's gone up against all the Protoss and done very well there. Ragnar played 2 series, I guess 3, including that lower bracket final. And now here we are in the final. Pylon is our first veto. Last Fantasy. No 3-player maps today. Damn. I hate playing on Last Fantasy, but I like casting it. Torches. Pokemon. Alright, picks. So we will be seeing both of the old maps. Ley lines. Okay, ley lines is the first pick. Just, I find it makes things a little bit faster if I have the order going into these, so. Bunch of Discord pings. Persephone. Maganatha. So map 4 will be either Ultra Love or... Okay, Ultra Love. And then the ace is Incorporeal. All right, getting into game 1 of the best of 5 series, Ragnar versus High Types for this week's Amateur League Tournament number 133 final for the initiate bracket. All right, in the bottom corner of ley lines, playing with the blue Terran SCVs, we have high types. And in the top corner with the pink Zerg drones, we have Ragnar. All right, now there could be some ping issues in this game because we are playing from Europe and Australia on the North American servers, the only kind of middle ground between the two regions. High types. It's nice seeing him back in the tournaments. He used to play a lot. I used to run into him all the time in the Initiate bracket when I was playing Protoss in Initiate. I actually practiced with him a lot back in the day. Okay, pretty standard stuff looks like coming out of both of these players. Nothing too funky, no proxies, no 12 pools, just standard macro play. SCV scout from high types, and Ragnar is sending the overlords across as per usual. Ragnar going for a third hatch right away before even getting a pool. Wow. Okay. Interesting. All right, so high type scouts the hatchery, so he knows that he's not being all in, and probably just goes home at this point. The Reaper is coming up, so we really need to get this spawning pool from Ragnar, or we might get heavily punished for this greedy opening. This is so greedy. I love it. All right, rallying into gas, but the Reaper is popped. The Reaper is out, and it is coming across the map. Oh, and it's gonna scout the third when it goes for the jump pad. All right, spawning pool is finished. We need Zerglings and Queens now. The Reaper jumps into the base, and we're going to after the drones. Maybe we get one drone. Oh, maybe a little bit of ping issue here for high types. Come on, one drone goes down. Going for the surround. Yeah, micro that Reaper. Okay, the drones herd the Reaper into the lings, but the surround does not happen. Okay, the Reaper manages to get out. Not scot-free or uninjured, but does get out. There are a bunch of Zerglings chasing it down. No ling speed on the production tab yet. Probably due to the interrupted mining. Are we just going to go and try to, like, ling flood now? Like, what's the plan here? I think the Reaper went down while I looked away. Looks like it did. That is a lot of lings for this early on in the game. There's no wall yet. There's only a handful of Marines. Even as slow lings, if these go across the map, this could get some real damage done on this low ground area. Still only one supply depot. There is no wall off. I think Ragnar is just going to try to econ up super greedily. We are oversaturated in the main, and maybe wait for ling speed. All right, now we see, you know, handful of Marines, no wall. All right, SCVs are going to build a couple more depots. All right, a standard, well, not standard necessarily. I think a 1-1-1 is more standard, but we are going for a 2-1-1 opening, which is what high types has typically been playing. 3 depots into an eBay for the wall off. And we are at 30 to 38 workers. All right, we got a couple Evo chambers and a Baneling nest going up for Ragnar. I think that Baneling nest is going to be highly important, as high types typically does like to play bio rather than mech. All right, we've got a couple of Marauders on the production tab, couple of Medevacs. Looks like we're just playing Marine Marauder Medevac for now. I do think that there is time early on in these games where High Types is vulnerable because he does not go for like an early Banshee or an early tank. All right, Ragnar is spreading creep. We're oversaturated in a couple of bases. And the Medevac drop should get scouted. Oh, we're not dropping in the main. We're going for the third. We're just going to walk in. This does give us a little bit of time for researches to finish. We've got +1 on the production tab. We've got combat shields. Did Stim finish already? Yeah, Stim is already finished. Okay, so we're going to go in, snipe some creep tumors, and get the queen. That's going to be huge. And honestly, now we can probably just bug out. Yeah, now we can go drop in the main if we want to. Make the Zerg adapt to what you're doing. If we snipe 2 queens here, that actually hurts the production so much of the Zerg. Unfortunately, we don't get the second queen. Good defense by Ragnar, though we did lose some creep and we lost a queen. I don't think that we got too many drone kills. So all in all, pretty solid defense. And now Ragnar's economy is booming. 53 drones, 3 bases, not fully saturated, but good so far. All right, 4 drones go down, 5 drones go down, and we pick up, and we're out of there. But maybe that's not the way we want to go with the queen right there. I think that if he lost that medevac full of Marines, he'd be a bit annoyed. Okay, we get a couple more drones. One of the medevacs almost goes down. It's maybe time to go home and repair that. Again, Ragnar, though, like, if you get a couple of spore crawlers in the back of your base, you know, it's a 75 mineral investment or whatever it is for spore crawler. I can't remember the cost. But it prevents you so much grief from these drops or from oracles or anything. All right, I don't know if High Types is watching, but the Zerglings and the Banelings are hunting. Oh, they are so close to each other. They are just out of range. And High Types maybe saw the one Zergling there on the edge. Hopefully he is still macroing at home, but I don't think that he has been macroing too well. We've got some more production going up. We've got another command center going up on the high ground. You know, cutting off that creep spread, which is very important. But I think that because he has been microing so much with these drops, that High Types has actually fallen a bit behind in the overall macro game. Any spore crawlers yet from Ragnar? Nope. All right, we're going to try to boost into the main, I guess, is the idea here. Or we're just going to hold the drops in reserve as kind of a constant threat that Ragnar has to be aware of. Ooh, Hydrus, I like that for hunting down those medevacs. Okay. We're producing more Marines. I like the Marauders, especially if you can get to them to the front to tank the Baneling hits. Okay, it looks like the drops went in while I was focused on the main army and got cleaned up. A couple of Hellbats would also not be bad in this situation. Oh, we're not sieged. We're not sieged. We're not ready for this. We didn't expect the army to be right there. Okay, the tanks take a lot of the Baneling hits. But they do go down. There's not a ton of army here for the Terran. This should be very holdable by the Zerg. Yeah, we're going to pick up into the medevacs. One Marine gets behind. Jimmy, no! Jimmy gets eaten by Zerglings. All right, this has been a great game so far for Ragnar. He is holding all of the aggression that High Types has thrown at him. Couple of misplays from the side of High Types. Could be ping, could be just, you know, a little bit delayed because he's looking somewhere else. I think if he had sieged those tanks just a little bit sooner, that is an entirely different fight. If they get off an opening, you know, salvo. Oh, adrenal glands and hydralisk move speed finishing up. That is massive. We got lurker tech as well. Lurkers are on the battlefield, so if High Types doesn't get out something that can deal with them, like ghosts or liberators, that is going to be very tough for him. Can't move your army away. They're coming in. All right, we got the preemptive scan on the lurkers, which I don't think have their range upgrade yet. Baneling's getting picked off. Hydralisk's going down, but 12 SCVs died to the Banes that rolled into the mineral line. We need to... Oh, we didn't lift off the command center either. So while this army from Zerg gets cleaned up, we lose an orbital command and 15 SCVs. Ragnar coming out swinging. Watch his POV for a little bit. Yeah, we've still got this Overlord right here. Keeping an eye on things. Oh, that is... The Doom drops are coming in. But it feels kind of like a desperation play from High Types, honestly. He's behind in workers. He's behind in army. Oh, the Liberator goes in a little bit far. It takes a lot of damage from these Queens. We're trying to stutter step. We're trying to micro away. Liberator takes out a lurker, but the Hydras are here now. It is a one-way trip for those tanks. Yeah, these plays unfortunately reek of desperation for our Terran player. All right, we're going to see the fourth base. That should get lifted off and run away. Unfortunately, a little bit too late. Fourth base goes down. You know, Ragnar is determined to not let this Terran go up to 4 bases, keeping him trapped on 3 as he pushes in with all these lurkers and Banes. The main army of the Terran getting absolutely shredded right now. And GG, well played is called. Game 1 goes to Ragnar. Map 2 is Persephone. Bug fixes. All right, just waiting on the players. All right, game 2. Let's see if Jivik, or sorry, not Jivik, high types can go and bring it back. This is such an interesting map because of the fucking speed corridor. You have to be very careful if you have a base in either of these locations. All right. Game 2 of this best of 5 series takes us to Persephone, and in the bottom corner with the blue Terran SCVs, we have high types. And in the top corner, coming out swinging in game 1, we have Ragnar. So Ragnar with a very early third hatch, super greedy build, but he just out macroed high types across the board. And high types was playing well. He put on a lot of pressure early on. He was hitting Ragnar, getting lots of damage, but because of that greedy start, his economy was better, and it didn't really matter that much. He just had so many drones already, and it translated to an overwhelming advantage across the map. All right, are we going to do the same thing? Are we going to go for a third hatch? Now, if I'm high types, I'm scouting for that third hatch as well. Now, these two players played each other earlier in the tournament, but this is the first day I think that they've come up against each other. So neither of them really has a read on the other strategies yet, I don't think. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond. Now, if I'm high types, I am going and scouting for a third at this point, to see if we are going the super greedy build again. All right, Reaper is going to be coming out in just a minute. This is a much more normal timed gas and pool compared to the previous game for Ragnar. All right, we're going a reactor right away. Reaper going across. We're just waiting. I think we're macroing at home. Reaper goes into the main. Zerglings pop. Reaper might get a drone or two, but this should all get held without too much trouble. One drone goes down. Good splits for the Zerglings. Queen pops. Jump pad, but the Queen is there to meet it. Guess there's no like hidden buildings or anything. Oh, and the Reaper somehow just barely gets out, but don't just wait there. A moment of silence for our fallen Reaper. He didn't have to die like that, high types. All right, looks like we are going to start producing Hellions. Are we playing mech this game? Holy shit, I didn't see this coming. High types decides that, he needs to make a change, bring out a new strategy. And so we're playing mech. But good scout from the Overlord here. The Roach Warren goes down, along with 2 Evo Chambers. Couple of Lings, find the Hellion in the base. scouts the first factory, and then he sees add-ons, but he didn't see what's attached to these add-ons. So he doesn't know if it's barracks, he doesn't know if it's a factory, he doesn't know if it's starports. No idea, but we've got 4 Hellions out now outside of high types. Blue Flame coming up. I can't remember the name of this one. It's the lock-on upgrade for Cyclones. I don't play Terran. Cyclone upgrade, and we're going to start pumping out a couple of Cyclones and Hellions. I think it's going to be a battle mech build. Right. High types uses the supply depots from his orbitals a lot. I've noticed the extra supply. I do feel like that probably puts him behind a little bit because mules are so freaking strong. Oh, good scout from Ragnar. We're going to see everything about that's going on here. All of the mech. Please, high types. Kill the Overlord. You got a Cyclone right there. He's just sitting in your base. Getting all the scouting info for free. All right, let's get some good burns. Now, if these were Hellbats instead of Hellions, all these Zerglings would probably die. Oh no, they're move commanded, and they all get picked up. Barely any Zerglings going down. Yikes, that is unfortunate. You should have an idea that there is also a Overlord there. We need to get this gas fully saturated if we're playing mech. Gas is usually the limiter for mech. Oh, I love the Banshees for high types, just as a safety option against roaches. Ooh, so many tanks too. Like, it is hard to break that many tanks. 1/1 attack upgrades for range and missile coming out for Ragnar. Hitting that drone button hard. We are at 60 workers for Ragnar to 41 for high types, but mules will help a lot with that. +1 ground weapons for mech. Couple of Widow Mines coming out. The Clem style of just scattering Widow Mines across the map and watching half your Zerg army disappear to them. I hate it so much. When I play Zerg, at least. Got a Banshee kind of just waiting in the wings. With no Spore Crawlers in the main. Got a bit of a supply block for Ragnar. I know a lot of players find Zerg to be very frustrating to play against. 3 drones go down in the main as the Banshees swoop in. 5 drones, 7 drones, 9 drones, 11 drones, 12 drones, 13 drones, 14 drones, 15 drones, 16 drones. That's a whole mineral line dead. Finally, the queens with the overseers come in, but we could actually snipe one of those queens right now. All right, but now we have quite a few queens. The Banshees are just going to sit back, but they might actually be in range. Yeah, they're in range. Oh no, the Banshees go down. But you know what? 17 drones for a couple of Banshees, I think, is very, very worth. Now, are we going to learn from our previous mistakes? We have a Spore Crawler up in the 3rd. Are we going to get a Spore Crawler up in any of the other bases? That remains to be seen. Now, this did actually put them on even footing in terms of worker count until Zerg instantly got back all of their drones again. This Hellbat tank push is going to be very strong, especially if we can get a couple more Banshees in there with it. But, and this is the big but, the tanks need to be sieged up first. You can't just walk these tanks in, which has happened several times to high types today, where by the time he's sieging the tanks, the army is already there attacking him. Ragnar should have an idea that this army has moved out. Come on, siege, siege, siege first. No, you siege before you ever step up that far. That is so many tanks, though. These roaches cannot go toe-to-toe with this. You know, we do get a good couple of corrosive biles and a couple of tanks go down, but not nearly enough. 7 drones also go down. This hatchery should fall. All in all, this is a very successful attack for high types. Now, we do have the Zerglings that are probably going to pop out of those cocoons. We're rallying Hellbats across the map. Tanks are sieging up again. Tanks are so strong. Oh, with friendly fire alone almost kills that one tank on the back. Oh, this was just so many fucking tanks. Tanks are so strong. Oh, and these are Hellions, not Hellbats. But we're going to keep pushing in. We've got reinforcements. We've got a Raven rallied across the map. We're going to try to snipe the Hydra Den. That's probably not going to happen. Thor is shooting, prioritizing the Overseers. I'm not sure why it prioritizes the Overseers over other units in range that actually attack things, but apparently it does. And Ragnar calls GG. That was a very powerful mech push out of high types, and he gets himself on the board. Is now 1-1 in this best of 5 series. All right, map 3. That was Persephone. This is Maganatha now. Oh, Ragnar is showing as busy. He might still be in the game. All right, just waiting for the go ahead. All right, game 3. We have a series on our hands. All right. Getting into game 3 in the top corner of Maganatha with the blue Terran SCBs, we have I-types. And in the bottom corner with the red Zerg drones, we have Ragnar. All right, so high types, came out swinging for playing mech for the first time that we've seen in this tournament so far. I've never really known him to be a mech player from when I've practiced, but you don't generally play mech against Protoss anyway in a lot of situations. Standard hatch first for Ragnar. I'm interested to see if high types will play mech again, or if he's going to go back to playing bio after that win. He does usually go for the Reaper first builds, but he hasn't been getting a whole lot of success with it. Usually the Reaper gets a drone or a probe or two, and then kind of dies on the other side of the map. Okay, Ragnar is going back to his greedy 3-hatch opener. So if I'm high types, I would be scouting around to check and see if there is a 3rd hatch, simply so that I have an idea of what my opponent is doing. Now, I think that this is a good placement from Ragnar, because the Reaper, as it goes across, is going to go up through the jump pads here. It's going to always scout this. But as of right now, high types has no idea that this base exists. All right, orbital command finishes. We're calling down mules. Mules give you such a ridiculous boost to your economy as Terran. They're like having a fucking money cheat code. Ugh, Terran players. Dirty, dirty Terrans. All right, spawning pool is coming up. So we will take a little bit of damage. We'll take a little bit of lost mining time. And honestly, it should be an indicator that when high types gets in here and there are no lings, there is no queen, and he's having to pull drones to deal with this Reaper that kind of derped around and almost died just to drones, which should never happen. This should be an indicator that this is having to be done at all, that we've gone for an early hatchery. Go on, get the jump. Okay, Reaper gets out. Now, scout around for the early hatch. Go and find it. You know it exists. You know it has to exist. Okay. Reaper jumps in, but there's a queen right there. We run out through the natural and die. Now, we do get a scout that there are a lot of lings for this early in the game. It'd be interesting to see how high types responds. All right, so we're going back to our 2-1-1 bio build, which is fine. I would like to see him build more tanks with it. I think that the tanks in the last game were hugely impactful and were a huge part of his success of that mech build over Ragnar. Okay, we're going to go and snipe the Overlord. There's one Overlord that goes down and actually supply blocks Ragnar on the other side of the map. Ragnar doing a little bit of scouting. All right, this is a good number of Marines. And there's no Baneling Nest or even Ling Speed. Actually, there is a Baneling Nest, sorry, but there's no Ling Speed or Bane Speed yet. Drops might be able to get some work done. A couple of Banelings morphing in, and the medevacs go right over an Overlord that's waiting for the scout. All right, we are going to drop and then walk in. But we're kind of ready for it because we saw this coming. Scout goes down, or scan, sorry. But we don't see the Zerglings hiding in the mineral line. Good defense from Ragnar. I do think that PVZ, or sorry, not PVZ, TVZ is a very fun matchup to watch. There's always so much back and forth. All right. Medevacs are flying around, but they can't really get anything done. So this puts Ragnar, honestly, in an even better position than where he was the last time. Does he see the Overlord that's right there? Kill it! Kill it, please! Don't let Overlords just sit on these pillars, getting vision of the entire map. All right, we need to keep pumping out SCVs. That is one of the things that I've noticed High Types is a little bit weak on, comparatively, is his micro is really good in these fights, but he struggles to keep up the SCV production at home while he is doing these fights. So he is usually a fairly significant amount behind his opponents in terms of, ooh, good pickup, actually. Not nearly as many Marines going down there as I thought there would be. High Types has a massive army, 53 supplied to 20. All right, we are pushing in. Queen goes down, Zerglings go down. Good Bane connections, holy shit. And the army of High Types evaporates. I think that if not for those couple of good Bane connections, that High Types probably could have won the game with that push. All right, so we do need to keep expanding. We need to make sure that we actually saturate this base, because right now we are on 33 workers to 59 despite the aggression. And while Ragnar has lost more, because he is so far up in economy, he's able to just absorb those losses. He's playing like Solar right now, who has the nickname, from what I've heard, the Sponge, because Terrans and other races just put constant pressure on him, and he just deflects and holds until he can overwhelm them. And that is really how Ragnar is playing right now. Now, that doesn't mean, though, that this is not a scary Terran army right now. We just need to make sure that we siege our tanks. Like, if we fight in these chokes, we siege the tanks before we push in. Too many Terran players, they wait until the army is pushing in to actually siege. Like, siege right now. Siege right now. Oh, this is not going to be good. Okay, he actually manages to snipe the hatch. But, oh, you don't want to fight in this choke, though. And the Banelings go in. Tanks take a lot of the Baneling shots. Good fight for High Types. Not a great fight for Ragnar to take there. All right, we're going to go back to the other side of the map. If High Types can now keep Ragnar on 3 bases, that is going to be huge, because the reason Ragnar has been able to play the way that he has is because he is up on economy. He's up on bases on his opponent. Oh, but there's no tanks with this army. Got to get out of here. Yeah, you need to have those tanks with you. Bio alone is not going to be strong enough. I'd honestly add on a couple factories with tech labs and start pumping out more tanks. All right, natural, still not saturated. Main, oversaturated. You're getting the Liberator range upgrade. And melee attack 2 and the armor upgrade 2 are on the production tab. Melee attack finished. What do we have for upgrades for just 1-1 versus 2-1-1? So Ragnar does have the edge and upgrades, and that's going to be huge on these Banelings. But yeah, this is kind of, we're transitioning out of the phase where Terran is aggressive, and now we're starting to get into that Turtle Terran with siege tanks and planetaries. Oh, you need to raise these depots, brother. Actually, never mind. They'll just die to the Liberators and the tanks. But I imagine we'll be seeing Lurkers pretty soon. Actually, it's Ultras. Ultras on the production tab. And Marines just pickle Ultras. All right, this is a pretty scary Zerg army, but we've got 102 army supply from the Terran. If they get a choke point where they are sieged up and ready for the Zerg, it is going to be pretty impossible for the Zerg to win that fight, especially before chitinous plating finishes for the Ultralisks, or the Ultra count is too big. Now, we do have the Liberator count is growing for the Terran. That will be able to deal with Ultras and with Lurkers. But I would like to see some Ghosts. And that's kind of one of the things, is that it's one or the other to deal with Ultras and... oh, he should see. You need to siege up ahead of time. Get the tanks sieged. And that is something that I don't like seeing from Terrans, is when they rush in a little bit too quickly and they don't siege up. But I feel like maybe going and taking this fight on the other side of the map was a mistake. The entire Terran army going down right here. But I really think at this stage of the game, you want to turtle up and let Zerg come to you. Carve out your 5 bases, whatever. Get your planetary fortresses up. Get your tanks up. Get your Liberators up. And let them come to you. Now, honestly, both sides have pretty large mineral banks and gas banks, meaning that they do not have enough production to... Oh, no, don't run into this. But there's not enough production to efficiently spend the money that they have. Are these both planetaries? Yup. 2 planetaries. But, oh, the Ultra count and the Lurker count is growing. All right, the Ultras push in. The Lurkers are burrowing. But I think that the Ultras and the Banes are enough here that, yeah, High Types calls GG. He just did not have the answer to those Ultralisks. And game 3 goes to Ragnar. That was Maganatha. Game 4 is going to be Ultralove. What a back and forth game, honestly. All right, just waiting for the ready from the players. ready from high types. All right. Game number 4. Here we come. All right. Game number 4 of this best of 5 series. Match point for Ragnar. In the top corner of Ultra Love, we have high types. And in the bottom corner, we have Ragnar. Both of these players putting up a hell of a fight in this best of 5 series. No, Ragnar came out game 1, smashed high types. High types brought it back in game 2. Game 3 goes to Ragnar. Now it's do or die for high types. Will he be able to take it to the match point? Or will he fall here 3-1? If I'm Ragnar, I keep doing what I've already been doing that has worked well. He kind of changed things up a little bit in game 2, varied his strategies, but I'm always of the opinion that if it's working, make them adapt to you. All right, and that is exactly what Ragnar is going to be doing. I think that high types might have caught on a little bit late that his opponent in the last one went for the super greedy opener. Now, I do think we are fully saturating 2 gases right off the bat. So I think high types is going to be playing mech again. That's the only reason I can think of for doing something like that. All right, spawning pool goes down. Gas gets taken. Scouting overlords going across. Yep, factory is already building. And then we'll see the Reaper going across. A little bit of a player cam right now. All right, the Reaper is just sitting there. So it's going to lose a lot of its window to get some free damage because high types is busy macroing at home. The Lings are hunting. They're like, the Reaper should be here. Where's the Reaper? This might actually confuse Ragnar a little bit. Okay, finally the Reaper goes in. We're maybe going to get a drone snipe. Yeah, 1 drone, maybe 2 drones. Okay. 2 drones. Woo! Okay, we're gonna run out, jump down, get the scout, look for any buildings. The Reaper gets hit by his own grenade and just barely manages to get off creep and get out. No, keep running, keep running. Why do you do this, high types? You stop running like 2 feet out of the base and you lose your Reaper for free every time. Yeah, we are playing a more mech style this game, it looks like. Yeah, I think High Types has lost his Reaper when it gets out basically every time right outside the enemy's base because he doesn't like click just a little bit further. Okay, so we've got 4 Hellions. Now you should... Actually, no, I don't think he has an idea because his Reaper was late. He doesn't realize probably that his opponent is on 3 bases already. And that could be very bad. 3rd factory going up, starport going up. We need to get these gases saturated. Macro hatch as well for Ragnar. Ragnar is going probably for a 3 base all in, I would guess. All right, couple of Lings coming in. They're going to see the Cyclone and the Hellions. So now Ragnar has an idea. He's morphing Banelings. Is he trying for a Baneling bust? That's kind of my assumption here. All right, we do scan to see what exactly our opponent has. Got a couple of Banelings. We got Cloak being researched, so we're going to go Banshees. And we got Infernal Pre-Igniter, I think, is the Blue Flame Hellions. But we got to, like, get across with these Hellions and do something. Like, even if we just get an armory, morph them into Hellbats and go, like, we got to do something here. And again, with the Supply Depot Collins, I do feel like we rely way too much on that. Like, mules are so cost effective. Yeah, but what do I know? I'm just a Protoss player. Dirty, dirty Protoss. This is so many Banes, honestly. Getting good creep spread. But yeah, the fact that no damage has been done on the other side of the map is actually very scary for High Types. There's no idea what he's playing into. Okay, the Banshees go. They get 5 drones. Maybe 6 drones. Do I see 7 drones? Do I see 8 drones? 9 drones. Okay, and we do deflect this with a couple of Queens and some Overseers. We're gonna snipe some Creep Tumors. You know, good pressure from the Banshees. Now, will we see Spore Crawlers in each of these bases? Studies would suggest no. All right, so High Type should be getting some idea of the amount of vision that Ragnar has. So maybe we want to get up a couple of Vikings and just go Overlord hunting. Could be good. All right, we are back to full saturation on this base, though. So, okay, we are getting a Spore Crawler in the natural and in the main. 4 more drones go down. 1 of the Banshees gets sniped, but this is a Banshee with 8 kills. They have been well worth it. And what I would have liked to see is, as the Banshees are in the main, you know, Hellions swoop in and barbecue the drones in the 3rd. That would have been ideal. Oh, we're pumping out Thors already. 2 Thors on the production tab, 2 already out. That's an interesting choice. Womp womp. Banshee goes down. A little unfortunate, but it is what it is. Please kill these overlords that are all around the map. So Ragnar should see this these Thors starting to pop out. And I don't think he has lurkers yet, but he has the ability. Oh no, he doesn't have Lurkerdon. He's an infestation pit. Ooh, not having lurkers for the or like ultralisks or anything like that for those Thors is going to be huge. Please find these overlords and kill them. You give up so much, like just general knowledge and map pressure. When Zerg has this much vision, it's like having a cheat code. What was the Warcraft 3 one to reveal the entire map? Was it I See Dead People? Something like that? That might have been a different game. All right. And we need to make sure that we are sieging our tanks before we take the fight. Okay, at least a couple of the tanks were sieged. The rest are getting sieged. Oh, big hits on the Hydralisks. Don't chase too far without our tanks. Oh, those Banelings really didn't get much value. Maybe against the Hellbats, but... Alright, we are sieging tanks. 8 drones go down. 23 drones go down. 26 drones. Ouch. We are trying to focus down the lurkers before they can get... And I think those were lurkers, right? Maybe they were just Banelings, not sure. Zerglings take out a bunch of the Thors. One of the tanks almost dies to friendly fire. Tanks really are so fucking strong. All right, we're moving in with more tanks. And Hellbats will take care of... Hellbats do stupid damage to Lings. Like, it is so hard to actually deal with Hellbats with any kind of melee units. Well, other than Ultralisks. Those, I guess, technically still count as melee. And Ragnar calls GG. We are going to the ace map. It's going to be in Corporeal. I think Ragnar is checking things out on the map. So far, he has not had a good answer to the mech play, and that's fair. Mech is hard to play against. It's fairly easy to play as long as you take slow, cautious fights, but it is a little bit harder to play against. And this is almost perfect timing. I snoozed the last ad that I could. All right, we're going to run an ad now. Game 5 on Incorporeal. High type says he needs 2 seconds. Not really surprised that their hands hurt a bit when She's playing at a higher APM than I generally do, and I find my hands get a little bit sore after. Wrist issues are not uncommon with StarCraft 2 players. All right. Final match for today in the initiate bracket. In the bottom corner with the blue Terran SCVs, we have High Types. And in the top corner with the red Zerg drones, we have Ragnar. Both of these players have been playing extremely well today, whipping out a number of different strategies. And so far in both of these matchups, it has been with mech-based pushes that High Types has secured the victory. Ragnar has an interesting three base rush that he's been doing to get ahead economically. But High Types has been managing to push through that when he has his mech units. I think that when he is playing Bio, he is taking a little bit too much time harassing, and he's falling behind in the macro and economically. One thing I would like to see from both players, I'd like to see High Types take out all these scouting overlords that are spread all the way across the map. And for Ragnar, maybe some more early pressure. A little bit of harassing with the Lings after, because he builds so many. He builds like 12 Lings to start, or 16 Lings to start. Maybe go across the map and harass a little bit with those early on. Oh, also, I'd like to see High Types actually save his Reaper rather than sacrifice it after it gets out by just sitting it right outside his opponent's base. But yeah, all in all, these players have been playing really well. They've been great to watch. And this has been a hell of a tourney final. All right, we're going straight into double gas, so it is indeed going to be mech again from the looks of it. We have such a early hatch. There must be a way that High Types can actually punish Ragnar a little bit more for this greedy build. All right, into CC. Oh, we get the Spore Crawler down. Oh, that's the other thing, is I would love to see Ragnar actually make spores when he's being pressured by Banshees or Oracles or anything else. Mutas, whatever. Okay, one drone goes down. Are we going to actually let these finish? Nope. Save the Reaper, man. And okay, you see the Zerglings coming in from behind. You know now that he has gone for his 3-base build. Okay, the Reaper dies, but we get the info at least. We know what we are playing against. But like, we have so many slow Lings. I'm sure we can make something happen across the map with it in each of these games. And usually Zergs will build up a significant queen count for defense against like Hellions and stuff. So while the Lings are good, okay, 2 Lings go in, they see Hellions. Both players should have a good idea of what they are playing against at this point in the game. Ragnar adding on some gas and a Roach Warren. And Evo Chambers. Well, High Types is going to keep producing from factories, building out those mech units. Like, I feel like there's an opportunity for some Cyclone Hellion harass early, but honestly, the Banshees have been great. You know, tanks for early defense makes sense. So what are we going to be going for, Ragnar? Ling speed is about to pop. Please, just like 1 Viking to pop all the observation balloons that are hiding around your base would be amazing. Both players just playing very standardly. Overlords being spread out over the map along with creep. And again, High Types is at a significant worker disadvantage at 29 to 42. This is why it is so necessary early to play in a way that harasses and limits Zerg's production, because if you just let them build, they will produce and produce and produce, and they will swarm and wipe you out. And Ragnar's only been able to take, in a lot of cases, these inefficient trades while he's defending or whatever's going on, because he has such a better economy in most cases than High Types does. All right, we got some roaches popping out. Those might just be for safety against the Hellions, though High Types hasn't really been going for any Hellion run-bys. Like I said in the last game, he's been great with his Banshees, which we're finally getting a Spore Crawler in the main. Ragnar does not often put a Spore Crawler in his main, but I'd love to see if the Banshees are flying into the main and harassing, the Hellions go and barbecue like the 3rd or the Natural or something. Ooh, are we just going to go for a straight up Hellbat push? Like Hellbat Medevac or something? Oh no, we got a Thor. Medevacs would honestly make this push very strong. Ooh, the Liberator harass. Love it. 1, 2, 3, 4 drones go down. All right, now unsiege that and run away. What are we doing elsewhere? Nothing else going on, really, just this Liberator. And we're gonna note Liberator's gonna die to the Hydras. I think he saw the Spore Crawler. Yeah, knew he couldn't get out that way. Unfortunate, but you know what? 4 drones for a Liberator could be worse. It's something. All right, Ragnar is holding down the drone button. Our main is way oversaturated. Need to either transfer that, get some buildings built, something. We're adding on lots of Hydras. Oh, we didn't have Infernal Pre-Igniter finished. I thought that had already because he's been researching it right away the last couple of games, but it is not researched. Man, this mech army is small, but it is beefy and has lots of splash damage. All right. Ragnar is doing a very good job of spending his money. Actually, both players are this game. Usually they've got banks in like the thousands. All right, but yeah, if we could add a couple of medevacs onto this army, it would honestly make these Hellbats way harder to kill. All right, now High Types is starting to float. As his third comes operational with a bunch of mules, High Types is starting to float a fair bit of money. We are going across the map with a tank push. This should get spotted by the overlords that High Types has not been clearing out. Yeah, the Zerg army is on the move. We need to make sure we get our tanks sieged up. One tank is sieged. There should be more, but they're so far away up that ramp. And our Thors are focusing the Overseer for some reason over the Zerg army. But yeah, our tanks are largely too far away from most of our army for that fight. Just unfortunate. Okay, the rest of the Ravagers and the Hydras are going to get taken care of. I think you honestly should just back out of that situation. We're going to push forward with the tanks instead, but now Zerglings are coming out. Tanks not so great against Zerglings. You don't have any Hellbats or Hellions to protect them, and all of these tanks are going to go down. We should maybe have just kind of backed out of that situation and saved, you know, the 8 tanks. Ugh, that loss hurts. All right, High Types, you're floating almost 1,000 minerals. Let's get another command center. Let's get something down. Do you think this is the phase of the game where Terran wants to maybe transfer into playing a little bit more defensive, getting your planetaries up? High Type says, nah, we're going across. Now, I think this push largely is unscouted, but you gotta make sure you get those tanks sieged. And if you're Ragnar, you need to go and get a flank. You can't just run straight in at this. You need to get the surround. Lurkers are going to make it difficult for these tanks to push in. Great choice of unit by Ragnar. Yeah. Now he does have the faster transformation speed for these Hellbats. He could have changed them to Hellions and gone for a run by. Okay, so lots of roaches going down. I think we lost a couple of lurkers too, but the Terran mech army will get cleaned up, and High Types does not have the production to get this back up very quickly. These are expensive units, and they take a long time to build. And we've kind of just thrown away 2 waves of super expensive units. Oh no. We're moving away just as this is coming in. We only just finished the command center, and it doesn't get lifted off. All right, Zerglings going in, bunch of them dying, Roaches dying too, but the Lurkers are hitting everything. This is going to get cleaned up, though, by the Terran mech army. A couple of sieged tanks, a bunch of Thors. Very hard for the Lurkers and the Roaches to do anything about that. All right, let's get some more SCVs built. We need to make sure that these bases are saturated. We're oversaturated in the main and way undersaturated on our third. Now, you have to have an idea as the Terran player here that the Ultra transition must be coming. Like, if a Zerg player sticks around on this army, just chucking Hydras, Roaches, and Lurkers at you for much longer, you know, I question their sanity. So you have to have an idea that Ultralisks are coming, right? Which means you need Ghosts or you need Liberators. Tanks are sieging in the middle of the Zerg army, way ahead of the rest of the forces, not at all prepared for this combat. This is very unfortunate. The Zerg army is massive, and it is going to clean up these Terran forces easily. And now we are going to push home. I think that High Types is dead. I think that Ragnar is basically home free at this point, because these units take so long to build, and we've kind of been carelessly throwing them away. GG well played is called, and that is it. Ragnar takes the series 3-2. So Ragnar is this week's Initiate Bracket champion. Yeah, kill count for High Types is 221 to 88. Ragnar successfully swarmed him. But as you can see, like, the economy of Ragnar was just better. And as High Type said, he was having some issues with his wrist and his hand and arm, whatever. Not really surprising. All right, I'm gonna take a short break now that that is done, and probably play finish off the Legacy of the Void campaign again. But GG's to everyone playing today in the Amateur League tournament.